and get started. It's about 6:05. So, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Ladies of Sound Community Chats. It's a space to connect, support, and celebrate each other, share stories and knowledge. So, we do this every Tuesday, and then we have an artist wellness series that we do on Thursdays. Both days are at 6 p.m. And we're doing them weekly. We've actually been doing it since quarantine started. So I think we're on our 12th or something like that, Sam. I think we took a little bit of a break, so this is our first time back. Yeah.
This is our 12th session, but we've been on quarantine for about 14, 15 weeks now. Just so you guys, we've been keeping track. So crazy. We did not think it was gonna, go this far, but we're glad we are. So we're glad we're still doing this and, have all of our special guests. So thank you guys for coming in.
Yeah, thank you guys. So we're just gonna go over a couple of things. I'm sorry, my multitasking skills today are not exactly on point. I just want to make sure I'm letting everybody in the room. So you guys already know we have some updated house rules. So if you guys can please make sure you guys are on mute when you're not speaking. That's just to avoid any background noise, because I know Zoom, it's really sensitive. So if somebody's like rustling their phone around and stuff like that, it'll the camera will go on them. So if you can please just be mindful of that. And for your viewing experience, I like to personally watch on gallery view, and that way you can see everybody whose video is on. And if you would like to enhance your viewing experience, there's 3 little dots on the top right hand corner, and you can actually put do not show video participants. So then you don't see like a bunch of just boxes without a video. So just if you can want to do that. And then also don't be shy, use the chat and engage with the community, but please be kind and positive. So there is a chat box there in Zoom, so if you guys want to go ahead and utilize that and chat with everyone, please do. When the Q&A begins, there's a little hand. It's like this, so if you want to go ahead and raise your hand and I'll see it there, or type a 1 in the chat. And if you have a question, we'll answer them in chronological order, and then when I call on you, I'll go ahead and proceed with the unmute, and then you can go ahead and talk to us and our guest directly. So speaking of special guests, guys, so you guys know we took a break, but we're very excited to start back up with our community chats, because we haven't done this in a while. So you guys know myself. My name is Maricel. I am the principal at the B Junkie Institute of Sound and also the Ladies of Sound founder. And then we have Sammy G. She is a DJ marketing admin at BJ iOS and my Ladies of Sound co-founder. And we have here, look at her logo. It's so awesome. We have Kailyn Brown, aka Kailyn Hype. Hi, Kailyn. She is a DJ and journalist. So we are so excited to have her here today. And I met Kailyn. Kailyn, I want to thank you. Please say hello to everyone first before I keep on babbling over here. Say hello.
No, thank you guys so much for this opportunity. Thank you guys for being here. I'm excited to talk and just to be a part of this community. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, so you guys, we actually met Kailyn. She attended our first Ladies of Sound event back in 2018 when we did the big panel. I believe that was December of 2018. From there, Kailyn became a student and took an intro class. And so we know her through the school. And I'm very excited because aside her being a DJ, and I'm going to show this really cute picture here, Kailyn. So, so we met at BJ iOS, but I kind of want to hear a little bit about your DJ background. So when did you start DJing, and when did that come about? And I know that right now, gigging is not happening per se, and then we'll transition into that next and what you're doing in the meantime. But yeah, please tell me when did you start getting on the decks?
Yeah, no, definitely. So I started DJing probably about 4 or 5 years ago. Both of these photos are actually in Las Vegas, which is my hometown. One more recent than the other, but yeah, so I started DJing. I did college radio for a super long time, and then decided to buy decks randomly when I got like a large amount of money because it costs a lot, as you guys know.
Yeah.
And yeah, just was self-taught from there, and then continued just with mentors. And the Vegas scene was a lot smaller than it is out here, so I was able to learn and get a lot of different types of gigs out there. And then I moved out here and always loved Beat Junkies, and like the
Mhm.
rest of you, found the opportunity to do a class just to sharpen my skills and um, do better like on turntables and things like that. So yeah, about 4 or 5 years now.
Oh, awesome. Yes. So, how long have you been in LA now? So, I did some, research. You're UNLV graduate. Yes, I did
Yes.
see you at a college radio show, and then you were also a writer at the Review Journal and the Sun. But then you moved to LA about how many years ago?
Yeah, like 2.5 years ago. I moved January 2018. So not that long. It's so close though. So I used to come all the time. I used to cover music festivals back in the day. So when I was in high school, I'd drive and do a turnaround trip just to write about that. So been out here for a minute now.
Oh, awesome. Okay, yeah. Oh, so
Yeah,
then when you first came down, you literally just moved here.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
literally.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
awesome. Um, so I don't know if you guys got a chance to check out Kaylin, but Kaylin, you are an amazing writer.
Oh, thank
I got a chance to read a couple of your articles, but then I guess I have to subscribe to LA Times because some of them kept getting blocked. I was like, dang it! But
you. I know. I'm sorry.
oh no, no, no! I got to, so one article I wanted to touch on, and I'm gonna actually first of all, thank you for this. If you guys didn't catch this, this is really recent. Kaylin actually featured our homeroom online classes in the LA Times, on when things to do during quarantine, and she happened to feature us. So thank you, Kaylin, so much for that. If you see right over here, look where my mouse is, it's
Thank you
there.
guys.
So yeah, thank you for featuring that. We immediately pivoted during quarantine, so it was nice to see that you were abreast of that, and then were able to feature us. So thank you. Um, so yeah, let's
How,
just get that clipping here.
Yeah,
how
thank
how
you.
did you transition from, or were you already writing when you were DJing, or how did it? Did you make like a switch over, or how did it work when you started to begin being a culture journalist?
Yeah, I mean, I've been writing since like really high school and been heavy. I worked at the Review Journal actually when I was like 16 years old. It was like a high school program, and then went to college obviously and went back there when I graduated when I got a full-time job. And then it was just from college radio. I just decided like I need to start DJing eventually. It was something that I always wanted to do, but just was nervous and didn't see a lot of women doing it, although that's obviously changed. But yeah, so I always looked at it just like, I mean, I always loved music. My start in journalism was was music journalism and music content. So that was kind of a natural transition. And I just look at it as being like a storyteller just in and of itself. So whether I'm talking about like a new artist or just telling a story in a writing perspective, or if I'm, as you guys can relate, you're telling a mix that's a story, there's a climax, there's all these different journeys that you go on. So I think it was natural. It was really like in college that I got heavy into DJing
Dope.
though.
So when you were writing, you were seeing things coming. I mean, from what we've seen in these articles that you have read in, it's pretty much the things that you already like and are already interested in, things that you were already, the world that you were already part of, right? And so I'm sure it was, easy in terms of wanting to write about these things, writing about music. Uh, so let's see if we could check out the screen again, Marissa. You can go
Yes.
on there so we can check them out.
Yeah. So just a quick synopsis here. I've seen that you've done articles, obviously covering Afropunk. You also, you did an article on Melody Asani, Aleli May. Out of all these, articles that you've done, what would you say is your favorite?
Oh boy. I think like how Sammy was saying, it's like I just feel like that's things I write about are like a reflection of my world as well, and just the things that are most interesting to me. I would have went to Afropunk regardless. I bought a Laylee May shoes and rock them all the time. You know, I'm a sneakerhead in of itself, and Melody, I've been following her for years. So I don't know if I have a favorite. I think they all like have a special place to me. And I always feel like every time I interview certain people or get to write about them, like they're my friend in my mind. So because of that, I try to keep in contact, and they're all like really special to me. But I think if I had to say one or a few that like really helped me transition and realize like, okay, this is the type of work that I need to do or continue doing, would definitely be I really enjoyed writing about a guy named Calmatic. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, but he's a director. He directed the Old Town Road video by Lil Nas X. He did a ton for like Overdose back in the day, Kendrick Lamar, Anderson .Paak, and all of these other folks. And I've known him for a while, but it was a good opportunity to write about him. And yeah, we basically just talked about like where he got his start and just that music video and just like how it represented like Black history. Like he had posted on Twitter or on his Instagram just saying that that moment and him doing that video as a Black director and Lil Nas X obviously being a Black artist and predominantly Black cast, like that was very special for him. So I just look at it as like I want my work to reflect the world that I live in and also just amplify POC voices. You know, so yeah, I just want to be able to share those stories, whether it be about sneakers or a music video or I write about shoes a lot for whatever reason. I also really like writing about Queen and Slim. That was one of my favorite movies. I know, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I wrote about Queen and Slim, which was one of my favorite movies. And as you can see the headline, it just was like, I was obsessed with the snakeskin boots. And I was just like, these shoes are important because they like represent the complexities of women and just all these inner layers of what we do and what we mean and represent. So I just like to look at a small thing and then just what does it mean culturally, you know? So.
I loved that article, the Queen and Slim article, and the way that you had structured it. You know, the boots. So I remember seeing those boots, and I'm like, dang, well, those boots are fly. And then I saw, right? I was like $750. Dang it! I gotta hustle. I gotta work. You know.
Me too. You and me both.
Yeah, but I love that you. So you know, in that article, you know, Jodie Turner-Smith wore those boots by her name is Aurora James,
yeah,
also a Black designer, and then you wrote up. So in writing that, you know, there was also a stylist by the name of Shiona Tarini. I love her, by the way. I wish
oh, she's so
I could go in
fire.
her closet. I follow her on Instagram, and
Right.
I was like, amazing clothes. So you know, then you mentioned that, and then you also mentioned how Beyonce wore those boots, and then like that was it. Those boots ended up becoming like the hottest thing, and everybody wanted that, wanted those boots. And I just love how you were basically, like you said, you were telling the story of black women, and how it went from, you know, the movie featuring, you know, Jodie Turner-Smith, the stylist being, you know, where just I'm sorry, the stylist being Shiona Tarini, and then you know, from Beyonce wearing them, and then the designer obviously being Aurora James. It was so beautifully put together, and I had no idea that all of that was put into place. So, you know, I really loved this article. What was you said you watched it about 3 times, I guess, when you wrote
More since then. Yeah.
And was it the boots that kind of set it off, or was it just everything about the movie that, you know,
Yeah.
this article?
For sure. And I think one thing I should have touched on a little earlier is I'm actually technically an editorial assistant at the paper. So basically, that means you do a lot of administrative stuff, but I force myself to write because no one else is writing about these things, you know, and I'm a journalist. So that was one thing that I knew that they were going to cover Queen and Slim because I'm not on their film team. But I was just like, what is unique and different about it that is interesting to me? And I just felt like I just kept seeing like people talking about the shoes, just that they were so beautiful. And I was like, there's a story behind it. Like there has to be. And I followed all the designers, Aurora and Shiona. And yeah, I just went with that because I just felt like they were a character in and of themselves. Like you think of the Wizard of Oz and you think of like those pink slippers, or like in all these other movies, they have like some of them are able to have something that will last, you know, for forever on. And I just felt like that was something that did. And so yeah, I just thought they were beautiful and that there had to be a story behind it. So
you touched on how you know, in terms of certain things that you want to write about, it seemed like no one else was interested in writing it, or you just didn't feel like anybody else in maybe um, uh, around your world are considered into these specific topics. How does the process, can you talk about the process of like what it's like to say like I have an idea, like do you have to present it, I'm assuming, to someone, right? And it's when it's kind of a specific part of the culture that you're in, do you get any kind of, I wouldn't say backlash, but in terms of like kind of, is it hard to present things like this to people, especially if there aren't you know, colleagues that are as interested in writing these kinds of stories?
I think it's a perfect opportunity for me. So I love that they don't know anything about it, you
Yeah.
know, or aren't choosing to write about it. I think it's just like a niche that I have, and just I just saw a hole and just stepped in, and I think I've taken that and used it to my advantage. And just because like I am of that world and I see some of these people all the time, I think like I'm among one of the better people to do it, if that makes
Mm.
sense. As long as
Yeah.
I'm not biased, of course, which I try not to be. But yeah, I definitely like pitch a story to a certain editor. I work with a fashion editor a lot, and he's also Black, and he's really supportive, and other editors are as well, but he's someone that I was able to connect with very early on, and he's like very fresh and young, so he gets it and kind of lets me just like take the wheel and do my thing. So I haven't received any backlash as of yet. Actually, a lot of these articles have performed better than they've expected, which has been really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, okay, maybe we should do more stuff like this, you know? So that's been a cool
Mm-hmm.
opportunity.
I mean, what we, you know, in our conversation, we had a brief conversation yesterday. I was telling Kailyn guys that, you know, I'm a little older, so what I love about everything that you write is that it resonates not with only my generation, but you know, Sam's generation. So there's this gap in between us, but the way that you write and the people that you choose to, you know, talk about, and just your subject matter, I really feel, you know, that's why we wanted to talk to you, because you know, I love Melody Asani and Alayli May. And then when you talk about, and the article that I have up here that you guys can see, please check this one out too. You talk to Diamond Jones, and you know, talk about you know, what's been going on today, and that, you know, they were able to organize a different you know, organize some cleanup in the neighborhoods after all of the looting and everything like that. And I just loved that that was what you chose to write about versus everything else. What, in terms of that, you know, what compelled you to write this article in particular, and focus on that part of it, on the cleanup, on the community coming together, and the communities protesting, and what else could they do? But then they said, you know what, this is another way we can give back to the community. Let's help clean this up.
Yeah, no, I definitely, um, like everyone else, I'd been watching the coverage, and I attended a protest myself. Um, and I didn't like how it was being covered. I think that, you know, from my colleagues and this other publications, I felt like looting was just too big of a focus, which that word, like words have strong connotation, and they come with negative stereotypes and have very dangerous implications that come with it. So I try to be very intentional with everything that I do, especially if it's something on a community level, or like, obviously this is a international issue, you know? So as far as like the cleanup goes, um, I just felt like I was watching, like as I was writing the story that's on the left of the screen, I was working on these up the same week, and um, I was watching how like Fairfax and Santa Monica and all these other, more elite areas or more expensive areas were getting cleaned up immediately, like the next day. So it was like, yes, things would happen and they'd be cleaned up the next day and boarded up, and fixed, And granted, like not to discredit their experience, it's still, they have to go through this and it's still a loss. I'm very sensitive to that. However, Diamond, she had posted about this and it just really got me thinking like, wow, the 1992 LA riots were, about, 20 to 30 years ago. And then if you look even further back with the Watts riots in 1965, and just to look at South LA, it wasn't cleaned up immediately. Like people were too scared to go to that area sometimes. So it's sad to see like how it looks and how, the money hasn't filtered back to there. And just that there's still abandoned buildings, there's still businesses that haven't recovered. People don't want to open up businesses over there. Less people are living there as things get more gentrified in other areas. So when she talked about that, just kind of like she was kind of turning her nose up, like, yes, I understand that these areas are important too, but it was just like, dang, like we got to clean up this area. And I also thought it was beautiful that protesters explicitly said, let's avoid South LA. Don't go to the Black and POC neighborhoods that were already still hurting.
Right.
So that's why I just felt like I need to go and talk about this because no one else is going to go over here. And I just thought it was a beautiful thing. It was a really cool event and hundreds of people went. So many people just off of the Instagram post. And so, yeah, I just felt like there needed to be like a highlight on what was happening there, not just the negativity over here. It's like, okay, this happened over here as well. So that was what I wanted to focus on.
Yeah, that the part where she had mentioned there was a post about it, and then a lot of people came. I mean, I'm glad that you covered that, because I'm sure people reading that now have, oh well, what's another way that I can give back, or help out the community? I'm not really sure what to do. Well, this was the perfect example of it, and Diamond Jones really I love that she had gotten this together, and other people, like there's a girl that you said in the article, where she is from Australia, I believe, and she came and she's like, I wanted to help, but I didn't know how I was going to be able to give back, and then I stumbled upon the Instagram post, and so I showed up, and I was able to help. So that's, again, beautiful writing. And I just feel like the fact that this is what you decided to cover because you see what everybody is covering. They're all focusing kind of, in the same general direction. And because you decided to focus here, I mean, at least for myself and anyone that I talk to, it's like, okay, now my mind's open to, volunteering and helping and doing this particular, thing that Diamond Jones put together. It's like that's how else we can help, and we definitely need more than that, especially with the way that they're covering, the the news. And I'm glad that this made it onto the LA Times because this needed to be told. So
Yeah, and just to like piggyback off of that, like, everyone has their different roles or ways that they can contribute, which have been going around on Instagram. Like, it's not everyone's style to be out at a protest, and that's okay. So like, I mean, since then I've seen like, the Compton Cowboys have done a ride, and I've seen people do runs, and I've seen cleanups. There's been a ton of difference going on. So I just think that it was important to highlight, like, there's other things that are going on, other things that can also make an impact. And I just didn't feel right in my spirit and my soul that I would be writing about looting, like in connection with protesting. I'm Black. That sounds crazy. It's like, it's a conflicting thing. And I know that that's not true. I know that those two things aren't one and the same. I know that protesters and looters aren't the same people as it had been covered. So that didn't sit right with me. I refuse to write like that because that's just not, I can't. I'm Black. That'd be crazy. So yeah.
Yeah, you said on on one of your Instagram captions that now more than ever it's a conflicting time to be a Black journalist, right? So I'm sure it's also on the other hand, it's also navigating your own feelings, and yeah, you are gonna have to, you are talking to these people firsthand, and getting accounts of these different stories of other people in your own community, right? So yeah, it's really interesting to see that, and but we love the fact that you are here in your world and talking about how you see things and the people and your friends and family and how you know, everyone else is affected. So yeah, I was just wanted to bring that up, and I know that you said that was conflicting for you. So
Yeah.
but yeah, we wanted to right, so what's the next one? Oh, sorry.
No, I agree.
Letting people
That's actually the next slide. I'm bouncing around here. You know, and I'm kind of going out of order, guys. I'm just kind of giving you guys some context. You're not staring at the same thing, but you know, as you can see here, just the quality and the content that Kaylin writes. I mean, um, you know, from like, you know, that you see here, Afropunk finding the fashion grooves in a festival crowd, like you, these are things you say you want to do anyway. And that's why, you know, I particularly am drawn to all of this, because these are also things that I'm interested in. But not everything, I feel like not everything gets, I mean, we all know not everything gets covered. So to see a nice variety and an honest, you know, viewpoint like yours of someone who actually loves and is passionate about the things that they write about, I feel, you know, I just, man, I can't wait to just go through all the things that you've written, because when you even hear, you're just talking about Melody Asani and then Aleli May and streetwear, they're so huge, and they've made such a huge impact, you know, and influence in so many ways. And again, you're highlighting these women, Black women and women of color, and you know, I feel like they need it. Like we just need more, definitely more of that. And you know, and then obviously you talking to you know, Calmatic and everything. And then also this year I saw, which I wanted to ask you about, it says here she wanted to raise money for mothers of color, so she live streamed her son's birth. So we know that live streaming is the new normal for everyone,
Yeah.
but this, Mars Lovejoy, so can you tell us a little bit about that? That's so amazing.
Yeah, shout out to her. I think it's so interesting because kind of going back, I met Mars for the first time. I was like 17 years old. I was covering a music festival, and she was just so cool. And I just remembered her since then, and I used to follow her music. Um, but yeah, it just was out. This story was just out of curiosity. I just was like, I just couldn't believe that someone would do it. And I don't have any children, so I mean, I don't know what that experience is like, but I was just like, wow, what an intimate, you know, what I would think would be such an intimate and personal experience to live stream. But in the age of quarantine and a pandemic, like things are different, you know. And that was a really, really special story, and I put a lot of like care into that one, and just it was just emotional to write, just talking to just different doula.
Oh, I think it froze.
yeah, I think
Oh no, I'm sorry, guys. I think Kaylin froze. Yes,
you
she did.
guys you did right. Oh no.
Okay, we're going to actually
Okay.
text really quick, but
Yeah.
shoot, sorry, that's the first time that this has happened. But yeah, I mean, you know, while we get Kaylin back on here, guys, I I definitely was trying to read all of her articles, but now because of you know, all of stuff that I got to see a couple, um, but now I want to subscribe to the LA Times because I need to finish some of these. And I definitely resonate with a lot of it, and I just love that, you know, she's, you know, just has that very genuine and honest viewpoint. And I just feel like we need more of that, because at least, you know, the stuff that I'm digesting isn't always the stuff I want to digest, and just, you know, the current events. So this is just such a nice you know, nice transition into the viewpoint of you know, a young Black journalist, and it feels very cultural, feels very you know, again, it's very me. All the people that she chooses to write about, the subjects that she writes about, and everything like that. So um you know, please go ahead and look her up. If you go on latimes.com, you can go in the search bar and then type in Kaylin Brown, and a bunch of her stuff will come up. I mean, all her articles will come up. And then you can also check her out on kailynhype.com, and then all of her articles are archived there. I think she's coming back, so we'll give her a second. And then also what I love about her website, and she's a really cool video, just, man, very well curated. She has her, music there, all her DJ stuff. So we're just gonna wait for her to come back. Kailyn, there you are. Sorry, we froze.
Sorry about that. Can you
That's okay.
can you see on my laptop or my phone?
We see you on both.
Oh, okay. So I should get rid of one.
Which one do you prefer?
I'll just do phone. Sorry about that.
No, that's
Oh, cool. We see both.
we see both. It's okay. I'm enjoying that. Kind of looks cool.
Actually. Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry about that. We had actually got cut off, but I was just letting them know where to find your articles. I put your name in the search box for LA Times, and everything comes up. And then also, of course, your website, KailynHype.com, if anyone wants to check that out. So I'm sorry, we were talking about Mars Lovejoy, and then it had gotten cut off. So I don't know at what point you realized we froze. But if you want to just kind of wrap that closing remark so we don't leave everyone hanging.
Sure. No, I'm so sorry about that, you guys. I don't know what happened with that. That's super weird. But yeah, so basically, Mars posted it on Instagram that she was going to do this. And I was just like, wow, that's really crazy. And so I think I was saying that just in the research that I was doing for this story, looking at like different doulas and midwives and just like people like Beyonce and Serena Williams had issues, with having their children, and just the biases that are in the medical industry, and just, how Black women literally die while trying to give birth, and just how she was trying to raise money for women to have more options, just to be able to have a home birth if that's what they choose. But if they feel more comfortable having a hospital birth or being at a birth center, there's just different things that you can do. So so that was a really, really beautiful story to write. I spoke with her husband and her whole family, and I watched the birth, which was super fast. It was like 15 minutes, which I mean, I've never had a child, but I was like, that seems fast. But it was just a really beautiful thing to watch, and just writing it was really amazing, and just the different comments that we received from it. It was really beautiful. So I enjoyed that. It was really important.
I'm definitely amazed at her 15-minute birth at home, because man, I've heard some stories, but that's so amazing that she decided to document that. And then you also chose to write about that. Again, you're just sharing things that I wouldn't have been able to see or known about if it wasn't for you bringing your perspective into this into your writing. So I believe Sam, you wanted to ask her.
Yeah. So because of with COVID and being home, has that affected you in terms of your writing at all? Like, what have you been doing since the lockdown has happened, and where do you see yourself with your writing, and as well as even your DJing, right, too? So because clubs and stuff are closed, and so all of these things are happening. What has been your pivot? What's been kind of your route in terms of what you've been doing the last couple of months?
For sure. So a lot of my writing has been, unfortunately, about coronavirus, which is not very fun to write about or think about. So I've been specifically doing like a lot of breaking news, focusing on like Riverside County, if you guys are familiar. So like the Inland Empire. So yeah, that's been like my main day-to-day. I do that like on a daily basis, but I'm able to do like these more fun or interesting stories in between. So the Mars story came within that, the Fairfax story, obviously with the protests and stuff. So yeah, I've just been trying to find things that like interest me still, like things that I would want to read. That's just how I figure out things that I want to write about, and just be very, like I said, intentional about it, and not sensationalize anything. Like, yes, it's a very real disease, and it's very important. It's impacting people's lives. My life is just as much. So yeah, that's what I've been focusing on, just trying to be very careful with the words that I use and just the type of stories that I write, especially in this climate. Just like there's just so many things at once. While dealing with my own emotions, that's like the hardest part. It's just like being a Black writer and then writing about all these things, and then also being someone impacted by the pandemic. So it took me a minute to get in my groove. I've done a couple like live streams as far as like DJing goes, but DJing is just like that husa for me, just even if it's just for myself, which I'm sure you all can relate to.
Sure.
So that's been really beautiful. Music makes it like a easier thing. So that's what I've been focusing on. But yeah, I've done a few like small, like little events, like Zoom parties, which make me happy. So writing in the daytime, DJ at night is what I say.
That's so dope. And I wanted to actually circle back to the whole being intentional about your words and kind of mindful. I know that there's a ton of people, there's a ton of companies right now that are really trying to figure out, you know, in terms of the best way to really come out with the way they want to write certain things, certain captions, certain posts. Like, do you have advice for people who are kind of struggling to figure out, well, they're doing their best in terms of learning what is appropriate, what's not appropriate, what might be offensive towards people, like, because you're a writer, do you have advice for people who are struggling with that?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good question. As far as people that are struggling with like different content to post for themselves, or what exactly? I'm sorry. Let me make sure I understand the question.
I believe it's more so on just being just more mindful about the way that they say things, especially right now, kind of that that change of is it okay for us to promote things about our own company now, or you know, what's I feel like everyone's just a little bit more on just, okay, what's happening, like, what are we talking about today, how can we approach this, how can our business help with the movement in a very genuine way, and then tell people that it's genuine, you know?
Right. No, I think that's important. I think like you guys are a great example of that. Ladies of Sound, Beat Junkies, just doing things in a very authentic way and just with intention. You guys didn't just wake up and like, oh, they matter too, let's like post this content and just do a blackout box, or, you know, that's not enough. That's not going to cut it. And everyone is looking at these businesses or just different people and seeing what they're doing. So I think that it doesn't come off as genuine and authentic if you're not doing it with good intentions and like an honesty, then people are going to read that. And I think that you guys have done a great job at that, because obviously we're all a part of this community. You know, there's a ton of Black people in the classes and just a part of the company. So I just think that as long as you're being honest and genuine about it, then it'll be okay. But even I posted yesterday, I was hesitant to post certain things. I went on a pretty cool trip this past week. Yeah, and I was just like, dang, I don't want to be insensitive, you know, to what's going on, even though I'm a Black woman, you know? Right. But I was just, I'm going to see this joy today.
Yeah, you guys got to see this Black girl happiness right now.
Exactly. So yeah, I think as long as you're being intentional, because I mean, it does get like depressing and sad just to see like a constant like rotation of just like, you know, what's going on. So it is nice to see like a break of it, because I don't want to be sad all day, you know. This is something that we've been dealing with our whole lives. So it's not anything new for us as a community, it's just new for other people. So I think as long as you're authentic and just honest and just coming from a good place, it'll come off that way.
Right.
Yeah, thank you for that. So do you have, I'm gonna ask, you have something interesting you got in the works, or are there any aspirations in terms of you know, what you want to write about, or, you know, I just want to know what's in the future for Kailyn right now, Kailyn Hype. So you know, whether it's DJing or writing, so I definitely want to obviously see more of the writing, but yeah, what do you have coming up?
Yeah, I'm working on a story right now about another Black designer, and I won't say her name specifically, I'll post about it, but we had a really cool conversation. And obviously, like, we're in a time where like people are just making lists like Black designers to follow or 1,200 Black restaurants to follow, and it's just like sometimes that's genuine, sometimes it's not. So I just wanted to highlight someone that I wanted to write about for a really long time, and she's really influential. So I'm excited to release that within the next couple of weeks, and just going to continue writing about Black stories, POC stories, and just things that we all care about, hopefully, you know. And as far as DJing goes, it's been a little slower, just obviously with the pandemic, and writing has been like taking up most of my time. But just trying to figure out, like, I mean, I don't know when this is going to be over or when things are going to go back to normal. So it's just crazy, but just trying to, like, you know, pick up my skills and like make sure that I'm still on that, which I'm sure you guys can relate to. We can't stop practicing and participating in homeroom and things like that. So yeah, I'm a part of the DJ duo too. So we actually session together, and we're planning on doing a few little things. So look out for that. We go by the name of Pilot Jones. So I'll be posting more about that soon.
Oh, exciting. I can't wait to see everything that's coming out of this. You know, again, I tell everybody every week, I'm like, you know, it's the pandemic was a really, you know, it kind of took everyone for, you know, a left turn, but I think that a lot of beautiful things have come out of it. And we've been able to do things with our time that we weren't able to do because everybody was so busy working. But you know, I'm sorry, they're checking at the time. I wanted to open up our, let me just share, sorry about that, Q&A, guys. So you already know, if you guys want to ask Kailyn a question, please either click on the little raise your hand sign on the on Zoom, or type a 1 into the chat box, and then we can you please unmute yourself and we'll go in chronological order. So yes, please don't be shy. Does anyone have any questions for Miss Kailyn? Come on, you guys. I'm putting you right. I see all of you on the video. Anyone have any questions? Any comments? Like to say hello?
Usually takes a couple minutes. Yeah, there you go.
Alina, you're the best. All right, Alina, if you don't mind, please unmuting yourself.
That's pretty awesome. Thank you so much, Caitlin, for all of that feedback and just in general how you write. In terms of LA Times, do you see any other? Probably you do, but can you identify if you guys do have other you know, women of color or diverse you know, team of writers, and how would you address that within, you know, the bigger scale in your workplace? Because I do work for a big corporation as well, and I feel like I tend to struggle with how do I address that issue and how do I speak up about diversity, especially within my team.
Right. No, that's an excellent question. It's been like specifically like within the past week. I was just on a diversity call today, which they're just constant. But that's an excellent question. I think the LA Times is not diverse at all, and I knew that going in that it wasn't. I was tweeting the other day just about when I used to work in Las Vegas, about how I went to an elementary school like on what we call the West Side, predominantly Black and brown area. And the kids just looked at me like I was a unicorn. Like they never seen a Black female writer before. And even just myself, there's only been a few times when there's more than just me, especially in Las Vegas. So I'm very used to being the only one in the room, which comes with its own struggles. And it's really, I've had really bad experiences in some places, but as far as like at the LA Times, I've been assisting with the breaking news team, specifically, like we call it Metro or the California team. I just learned that there's one Black writer out of 91, and there's like 15 Hispanic writers out of 90, which is just like, I think that's insane. And a lot of the Black journalists that were there when I started 2.5 years ago, they haven't been able to retain them just because of negative experiences. So the company right now, like most publications, is going through a transition of, wow, how did we let this get this far? I don't know why it took this long to have this epiphany. We've been talking about this for forever. But that was one thing that I used to always say, like journalism is an industry that criticizes everyone else, literally, like Oscars so white or all these other hashtags, and just every industry, they criticize Hollywood, they criticize the music industry, they criticize the fashion industry. And it's like, if you look at yourself and like that, the fact that we're among the only few here. So I think that they released the numbers today. I haven't looked at them, but it's not diverse at all, especially in Los Angeles, which is, I don't know the exact percentage off the top of my head, which is, I mean, there's a ton. The Hispanic community is huge here. The fact that there aren't more like talking about these people that live here is just, it's nuts. Like the fact that they can even think that that's okay. And that was another reason why I didn't want to write about protests, is because I'm Black. Why am I going to be at the forefront? I don't want to write about that. That's crazy, you know? And a lot of the people that have been going are my white colleagues. And how are they going to connect? How are they going to emotionally be able to relate to those people that they're talking to? You just can't. There's no way, you know? So it definitely has been difficult. It's not a diverse place at all. The industry in general is not. There's not a lot of Black journalists, at least in print journalism that I know of. There may be a few more like in television and magazine writing and things like that. Like you have your Complexes and Vaders and things like that that seem a little more diverse. I don't know personally. But as far as newspapers and stuff, like, no. So that's another reason why I'm like, I'm going to write about these things, because you won't, and you can't write it like me. You just can't relate, you know? So yeah, I think that's an excellent question. I hate that any of us have to deal with that and being the only one or being scared to speak up. I've had a lot of situations within the past couple of weeks where I was being underpaid and didn't know, or just like, and that's just come to a head, and I learned today, and just like, it's just disgusting, you know? So I think on one end, it's like gross, and like I'm learning to speak up because I'm also a young journalist, and you know, we look very small in a room with all these people with years of experience, but it's also like, I know my work is valuable. I know that you can't do it like I can do it, you know, and that same goes for you. I don't know what industry you're in, but no one can do it like you know, no one can do it like any of us, because we were born with that experience, and we've grown up around those people. We live next to these people, their cousins, our aunties, all that stuff, you know? So it's definitely been a transition, but I also feel like I need to be there so it's not the same in 20 years. Like those kids that were looking at me crazy aren't like, they can do it too, you know? Like, as cliche as that sounds, but really, you know, like that's a real thing, because I didn't see Black writers either. So yeah, thanks for that question. So good.
Yeah,
thank you. That's definitely a beautiful answer. And I feel like honesty within the big corporation should be at number one thing, especially right now.
Yeah.
And just coming out just within the teams. And that's kind of like the confusing times in that sense, because we see obviously statements, but we who work there in big corporations, we see the numbers when we go there every day.
Right.
So certainly, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm sure you're looking like, this ain't authentic. Like, that is some BS. But I mean,
girl, I do.
It's up to them to do the work, you know? It's like, they have to do it. And I'm just like, I really do feel like this is a different time, and that things are changing, the ground is shaking, but I just hope that it's not like, I don't want to be a quota. You know what I mean? Like, especially like when you think about like when, I can't even think of the correct terms, but just like when more Black people started going to college and like more elite schools, and it was like, oh, you only got into this school because they had to meet their, you know, this diversity quota. And it's like, I'm not anyone's quota. I'm just as qualified, you know? And same with you and everyone else. So I just hope that they, like businesses, do, they are honest about it and just realize the talent. I know that we've been calling out editors that, you know, I do have predominantly white editors, some more so allies than others appear to be, you know? So I just hope that they continue to be genuine, because now we're gonna call it out. It's like, call out culture is real right now, you know?
Sure.
So you can't be doing no crazy stuff.
Yeah, that topic kind of circulates, especially now around the DJ world too, you know, getting these festivals that are supposed to donate to Black organizations, but the whole lineup is like of white people, and it's just not making any sense.
Like who makes these decisions?
Yeah, the prime time, or even maybe even before all this, when clubs were open, like, you know, they would just give prime time to people off their followers and things like that, and not really caring about the culture or the talent at all, right? So yeah, hopefully this is the actual change that really needs to happen in all of our industries and in the worlds that we're all participating in. So thank you so much for that. Thanks, Selena, for that question. We do also have another question in the chat from Michelle. It says, during this unique time we're in, how do you monitor your consumption of the news, and have you had to your self-care routine? Have you figured out your own self-care routine?
Oh, shout out to Michelle. That's one of my really good friends, by the way. Thank you for participating. And I didn't say hi to Jane earlier too. Appreciate you guys. But yeah, definitely, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, I was just overwhelmed, and I was just extremely stressed out, and I could just feel it physically. I don't know how you guys are, if you can just feel it in different areas of your body when you're stressed out. So yeah, I had to totally change what I did. And I went back home for a few weeks when the pandemic really hit, because I knew I was going to be working from home. And like my grandmother, I was staying with, and my mom, and my grandma's like constantly watching the news, and my mom is texting me like, this just happened and this, and I'm just like, I work in the news, I don't need to hear any of this extra stuff, you know? So I would literally just do what I needed to do and close my laptop. You know, I didn't need all the extra stuff, because it really can just enter your soul, you know, and into your spirit. I was having trouble sleeping, and I'm sure other people have too. I've talked to friends who've had issues with that. So I was struggling really hard in the beginning. But I just learned to, like, you know, limit my extra news, you know, things that I was watching. But as far as social media goes, that's where I get a lot of my ideas. So it's hard to kind of like totally close it. But I've been unfollowing people, a lot of people that don't post things that I want to see. And it is very personal, and I don't care. So that's a part of self-care, and I hope you guys do too. But yeah, just doing that, and
that's actually great. Yeah, I think I've done the same too.
Not care anymore. Just don't.
Yeah,
if you're not with me, you are against me. I'm sorry. I'm not here. I'm not here to.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it's crazy, because there's been some, you know, I'm sure you've seen that in the journalism world, from like Bon Appetit magazine and like Condé Nast getting called out, and then Adidas. It's like everyone. Not everyone stepping down, but then people are stepping down. And you know, I've unfollowed people because of the call outs. I'm like, okay, I don't stand for that. So bye. And I think that's a great, it's been great actually for me to just hit that unfollow button, which I have been doing a lot lately. So, you know, that's a very simple form of self-care. So yeah, thanks for that tidbit. Your friend Jane said she has a question. Actually, Jane, do you are you on? Oh, hi. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and ask? Maybe say hi. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for joining.
So awesome to hear you, Kailyn. So my question was, you've obviously accomplished so much and you have a lot to share with the world, but what would you tell your younger self, like advice or something, just kind of like thinking about, you know, you starting out or anything, like just what would you tell your younger self?
Yeah, no, that's an awesome question. I just have to shout out Jane real quick too, because she's done some incredible work, has worked with SoundCloud, Spotify, now Amazon Music, and has done so much. So you inspire me, and I've been to your events like this, a panel. So shout out to you. One of the first events I went to in LA. But yeah, as far as talking to my younger self, I was just thinking about this recently, actually, just because I don't know if this is like a horoscope thing, but I'm a Virgo. I'm an overthinker, professional overthinker, and dramatic person, and just like all these things. I'm naturally extremely anxious and thinking about everything way too much. So I just tell myself, chill the F out. And I still need to tell myself that now. And just to like, just go with your heart, just do what feels right, you know, because I think that I've allowed myself to be influenced by so many outsources. When I was first starting my career and doing like hip hop journalism, one of my mentors, who I still highly respect today, was like, you're not going to want to write about hip hop forever. Like, you should do something else. And I was just like, what do you mean? I love this music, you know? And I allowed that to like make me pivot and like get involved and do things that I didn't necessarily want to do. So I just would say like, go with your heart and do what you really love to do. And just don't doubt yourself. If it feels right, like your gut is like there for you. And I also question myself a lot, and I will ask my friends for advice. And one time my dad, like more recently, my dad, who I call my dadager, was just like, you already knew what you were about to do when you called me. Like, you already made a decision. Like, just go with that. Like, just go with your heart, you know? So I've been learning to do that. And I think that's one thing that I did as a youngin, is just allowed other people to make me sway. And I can't do that anymore. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And thanks everybody for organizing this. This is awesome.
No, thank you for being here, Jane. We appreciate it. Thank you for your question. Thanks for that, Kailyn. I'm sorry, Meg. I didn't want to. I did see the raise your hand. If you don't please mind unmuting yourself and take it from there.
Hey, Kailyn.
Hey! Oh my goodness! I didn't even.
We got our girls in
So
here.
we talked a lot about having our background in the entertainment industry, and just as creatives, what is the next step to promoting and raising awareness for creatives of color, and just making sure that we're being heard in the professional industries? I think it's very important for people to understand the difference, I guess, in the underground world and in the professional setting. So I guess in the workplace, what's the best way, or do you feel that you've seen it that has been effective in the LA Times or in amongst your colleagues? What would you say would be the next steps of educating and I guess, yeah, and promoting?
No, thank you for being here. I appreciate that question. No, I think that's an excellent question. I think that more than ever, like, at least I feel like, you know, people are really looking at us. I was telling my friends that are other editorial assistants with me, we're a small crew of just 5. And I was just like, we got to speak up. Like, this is the time to do so. And we got to ask for the world. Like, everyone's looking at us. And now more than ever, you know, businesses are scrambling to figure out, like, okay, let's listen to the Black folks. Let's listen to, you know, every community. Let's like make sure that we're looking at them. So this is that moment where you need to speak up. You know, I had a conversation with my dad where I was saying that I was nervous to talk about, you know, the pay inequality that I was experiencing as of recently and just different things. And he just said, like, you have to speak up or this will continue and you're going to regret it. Like, legit, like, speak now or forever hold your peace type of situation, you know? So I think, like, as a creative, whether it is in the professional world, or in the underground world, as you said, or just in our day-to-day lives, like, this is the time that we need to, you know, consciously speak up and say our piece, obviously professionally, but businesses look crazy if they don't listen to us right now, you know? Like, you can legit just call them out. Like, I mean, obviously that's a sacrifice in and of itself if you did do something like that, but I wouldn't want to work for a company that doesn't see me, like moving forward, like, that's, you're not going to continue. Like, people are going to stop shopping with you. Like, it's too risky for a business not to listen to us right now. So I think what, like, every industry anyone is in, like, and talk to your different colleagues. Hopefully you have an ally or someone that, you know, I'm not the only, like, my fellow editorial assistants are also POC. So we talk to each other and kind of hype each other up to, like, get the courage. So I just say, like, this is the time that we have to say something.
For sure. And I think especially as women of color is the perfect time. I mean, it's already hard being women, but also being women of color
Right.
in a professional setting can be very difficult or challenging at times. So I think it's like what you mentioned, it is the perfect time now.
Yeah, no, literally, we have to do it now. And that's what my dad was saying, just like, we just have to speak up, or, you know, our 20 years from now, or our children or whatever, these things will continue. So we can't let them continue to do what they've been doing. So even though it's super hard, like, I don't take it away. I had a super rough week last week, just like having conversations with someone in particular at the paper. I was doing a lot of work pro bono over the past 2 months. We've lost our freelance rate, and I'm technically not a full-time reporter. So anything that I do is like because I want to, and I realized like very quickly that I wasn't being paid like I should have been being paid. And I had a white editor tell me, that's crazy that you would be so scared to say something. And it's like, is it crazy, Ro? Like, of course it's not crazy, or we wouldn't be here right now. So I just think a lot of people are having these like sudden realizations of what's been going on and what they've been doing. So that was a really difficult conversation to have. And thankfully it's been like resolved, and I hope it continues to be resolved. But I'm just happy that this is the time that we can do that, So hopefully you do say something if you have something going on too.
Thanks, Carol. Love you.
Thank you. Love you too, girl.
That was a great question, Meg. Yeah, just piggybacking off of that, I think in general, one of Sam and I have this coach that we work with every week, and she says, it is statistically shown that women do have a hard time speaking up and asking, knowing their worth and asking for what they want. And now it's a matter of getting through all of that. I still myself, also deal with that same thing. So, I'm glad that you've reaffirmed that. And even for me, I needed to hear that because I can't imagine in the corporate world what that's like. I used to work in corporate and was not, man, it was just really not easy at all. So, to be able to speak up in that type of setting, it's going to take a lot of strength. And I'm glad that we can all express that together here. And I think everybody needed to hear that, whether they work in corporate or not. Now is the time to speak up and speak out and call out and educate and learn and just everything. It's a really great time, I think, in the beauty of all of that. So thank you. That was a really great, really good to hear. You guys had a really great question. So I hate to do this, guys, but we are coming to a close. Kailyn, thank you again. I'm just gonna leave it open. Does anybody have any last questions or anything they want to say, or if you want to go ahead and type it into the chat and say hello? I'm gonna go ahead and go back to the lovely share screen, guys. Now, if you guys have not followed Kailyn, you can find her at Kailyn Hype on Instagram, Twitter, and SoundCloud, and her.com. So easy.
One handle for everything.
Yes. So, and everybody that's new here today as well, and thank you to all of our BJIOS fam and all the girls that are here, students as well. Please share your Instagram handles in the chat, and let's all follow each other and continue to show each other support and especially follow Kailyn and her journey through journalism. Thank you, Kailyn, so much. You were an amazing guest. I really, really loved today's talk. So, please follow her. Don't be shy. And Kailyn, you said you have something coming up in a duo as a duo. So I really want to see what's going on with that. And before we go, you guys already know I'm going to transition to our sisterhood spotlight really quick. So our sisterhood spotlight today, you guys, is our former guest, DJ Damo. If you guys don't follow her, she's at DJX Damo on Instagram. And she has been creating beautiful art. This is everything that she's done there. That there's her beautiful picture, and she drew around herself. She actually has this defund the police poster that she's made. I believe she's printing them out if anybody wants to, have access to that. But if you want to go ahead and support Damo, we all know that the pandemic has made it really hard for DJs. So we definitely wanted to spotlight her here for this portion of our chat. So please go ahead and check her out and her art. And you can also purchase her art at damo.world /art.
You can also check out Damo's community chat with us. So she was one of our guests towards kind of the beginning of when we were doing our community chats. She talks about her her going into full-time DJing. She quit her 9-to-5 job and she started being a DJ full-time. So if you guys wanted to watch that, that's on our website if you want to watch her session too.
Yes, and we'll have a slide for that coming up. But if you guys also, again, we mentioned Kailyn is on SoundCloud, so please check out these mixes that she has a night in Vegas here. And this, oh, did you do this, Kailyn? I'm just wondering. These are really cool.
Thank you. It's actually an artist from Vegas. Her name's Zette Gold. If you guys ever need artwork, she's amazing. So thank you.
Nice. Yeah, so
Yeah,
please go ahead and check that out. Take a listen.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys know our, Bellatini, LA Bellatini, or La Bellatini. That's actually Isabel. She's one of our BJOS students, Ladies of Sound. So you can also check her out on Mixcloud. She's very active on the internet, and I think she's live streaming like 6-7 days a week at sometimes. And she's also a very great advocate for the rest of the crew and the students. She gets them together and she does brewhouse and brunch and everything like that. So please go ahead and check her out, and as well follow Kailyn on SoundCloud. And then just letting you guys know, we did drop a new playlist for Quarantines, No Justice, No Peace. So if you guys like to check that out, you can search Ladies of Sound in Spotify and take a listen, as well as the other stuff we got on there. And then letting you guys know, we have some guests coming up next. We'll be announcing our one for next week soon. But Tuesday, July 7th, we have Spinnerita up, and then Tuesday, July 14th, we have Chronica from Selection. So you guys want to join us for a community chat? Please do. And if you guys don't already know, we're talking about wellness here. We all need that. We all need self-care, right? So we've actually launched our Artist Wellness series, and to take care of your mind, body, and your soul. So this Thursday, we actually have our former guest, Raito. She did a community chat with us a couple weeks back. She's a certified yoga teacher. She's been doing it for a better part of 15 years now. And she's, I think you guys, if you were in the chat, she's basically saying she has these particular stretches for, when you're DJing, you're standing or you're hunching over. She's formulated these stretches for that. And she also does them on Monday nights as well. So if you follow her at Ritos, you can catch the Monday night sessions. But she's actually going to be doing something a little different for us this Thursday. It's going to be at 6 p.m. And she's, I don't recall the format she's going to do, but she said she's going to change it up from her Monday format. So she's going to do something special for us in our wellness series. And then if you guys also are former guest DJ Tiff Star, her husband is a certified, he's part of the National Academy of Sports Medicine. He's a certified trainer, and his name is Oscar. They do these workout sessions. So if you follow DJ Tiff Star, she actually does them, I believe, 4 days out of the week, maybe more. Sometimes she'll randomly post it, but you can watch her live. They're going to be hosting a workout session with us on the 25th of June. So that's coming up as well. And then also one of our students and BJOS graduate, Pow Pow. Yeah, you guys know Paulina. She's going to be hosting a session on Thursday, July 2nd. And then Sam, I'm going to let you take the reins on this one. We have some mental health wellness discussion with Marina, which is Sam's really good friend. That's going to be Thursday, July 5th.
Yeah, she's one of my girls. She's one of my dogs. Marina Moreno, she has a couple poetry books out, self-care books out. And so we're going to have her come by. She's also a DJ too. So actually all these girls are DJs.
All of them are DJs.
Yeah. So yeah, please join us. And we'll have all the stuff on our website for you guys to register.
DJs are multifaceted, so many different things. So again, like Sam mentioned, if you guys missed it, we do have all of our past episodes at ladiesofsound.com. Our past guests include Damo, whose art we featured, Bella Fiasco, Daoshe, Cherish the Love. I don't know if you guys caught Cherish the Love DJing on Jokoi special over Manila, Philippines, wearing our BJOS Building Better DJ shirt. Shout out to her. And then of course meeting in the ladies room, Chaotic Days, DJ Tiff Star, and then our actual business coach, Camille Rose Soler, and of course Raito. So you guys can watch all of that. And then Sam also has a mini masterclass on how to make your mix if you guys also didn't catch that as well. And then, sorry, Lena, here we go. Lena loves And then, of course, you guys know we only have a few of these left. If you want to grab one of these, this was our limited edition Women's Month lavender color Wayu release dedicated to Queen Latifah with some hand styles on the back. And then also, if you guys love what we're doing, we appreciate any of the support. If you'd like to donate, we're actually donating all of the proceeds that we get. Right now, we're donating this week to the Loveland Foundation. You guys want to look them up. They're doing work with, the Black community and people of color, specifically girls, I believe, ages 17 to about 40. I may be wrong about that age range, but they're doing a lot of things for them. So I really do like that foundation. If you guys want to check them out online, they're at the Loveland Foundation. But that's who we will be donating our proceeds to for the next week. And then every week we change, just like with Watch the Sound. So that's what we are doing. All of the Beat Junkies, DJs get tips and get all that kind of stuff or donations online. But we are actually donating all of our proceeds indefinitely. Just if you guys are wondering, we're doing that indefinitely till whenever. That's what we're going to be doing, and I'm going to be choosing a different organization every week so we can kind of spread that love. But yeah, thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks,
Appreciate.
Kailyn, so much for coming through and telling us your story and giving us some really sound advice. And thank you guys, especially those who are new here. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Yes.
So we'll have this session available on our site soon with the presentation as well. If you guys ever want to look back at it, you can join our newsletter on ladiesofsound.com and we send those out. All right.
All right. Thank you guys so much for
Thank
participating.
you.
Thank
You guys are
you.
awesome.
So great to see everyone. Have a good night, guys.
Good night. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.